this to start. Okay, so we're going to begin by diving into the material. And to dive into the material, we are going to do a little bit with Excel. So Excel is not a prerequisite for this course. CMAP is not a prerequisite for this course. So I don't expect you to know anything about how Excel works, but you you should know some because we're going to be working a lot with it. So this class is reserved for giving everyone a crash course in it. If you have no information about how it works at all, don't feel bad, because that's what this day is all about. It's giving you even the most basic information and then getting you comfortable with it. So this is going to be our hour-long little thing. So we begin by going to my website. So if you want to log on and get there, you want to go into teaching, and you want to go into BSAD 210, Tuesday, Thursday. So if you want any of this information too, of course, it's right here under Understand Excel, but we're going to pull out data set 0, just like we did last time. And you see it pops up. You see I've downloaded this a few times, and we're going to open it up. By the way, how many of you have had experience with Excel? Raise your hands. So about half, maybe 2/3. Okay, that's about what I expect. My last section, everyone insisted they knew it really well, and then like after the class was over, like 3 people came up to me saying, "I don't know what the basics are." Like, okay, so I'm gonna assume you don't know what the basics are. So when this comes up, you might see this enable editing button. If you don't see it, don't worry about it. But if you do see it, just say enable editing, because it will then let you actually manipulate what you see. And then we're going to scroll to the left here because I happen to default it not to the left. And this is data we talked about last time. What is this data that we're looking at? Come on, what is the data? Majors and salary. Tell me more. I don't remember your name. Gabe. Daniel. So totally. Okay. Daniel. So what do you mean?
Different majors.
Mm-hmm. Right, it's not the average income. What is it? Right, what was that? Median income. How do you know it's the median income? It's what? It's what? Well, how do you know it's the median income? Like, what's the difference between the median and the average? What's the difference, anyone? This is something we'll talk about next week, but. Exactly. So in other words, half of all accounting majors get paid less than $69,000 a year, half get paid more. Now, if you're not familiar at all with Excel, this is how it works. Excel is a spreadsheet program, which means it is not composed of just one single blank sheet that you might then type a bunch of stuff out. It is composed as a giant grid, a digital grid. All columns right here are indicated with a letter. Rows are indicated with a number. You can have thousands and thousands of rows if we keep scrolling down. I can keep scrolling down even though there's nothing here. You can see, I can't remember what the maximum is. It might be like 25,000 or something like that. Who cares? You're never going to get there, right? It's meant to be as big as you could possibly need and then a bit bigger. Now, does this mean, though, that it only has 26 letters, 26 columns? Well, the good news is no, because the moment you get to Z, you see then it starts going into double A's, and then B, and then C, and then D, and so on and so forth. There's actually hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of columns. In fact, I think it might get into triple. I've never gotten into triple letters before. Now I want to scroll to see if it gets into triple letters. I'm pretty sure it does. So we're going to find out here. Yes, it does. And there we go. So you can see there's a lot of columns, right? It's huge. It's as big as you want it to be. Let's scroll all the way back because we obviously won't need that. It also has these tabs right here at the bottom. You can see them. Majors and salaries, descriptions. These are ones I put in. By default, it will call these tabs sheets And we'll call them sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3. And if you hit that little button way at the bottom of the plus sign, you can add a sheet, which is super useful. It says new sheet, and it defaults to calling it sheet 1. We will use that a lot in this class for talking about, different things as I'm teaching you Excel and working with Excel, because it's useful to just say, now that we're going to stop working on this one thing where we're working on, and we're going to switch over to something else. And so it's nice just to get a nice new sheet. And then we have the A's and the 1s. We're not working with a bunch of weird letters and numbers. When you select a cell, you click once, and you can select the whole cell. If you double click a cell, you can edit it. So there is no difference, for example, in selecting a cell. Let me zoom in, actually. There we go. There's no difference in selecting a cell and typing. Oops, I meant to say hi. I got all violent. And double clicking a cell and typing. Now you can do each one. But double clicking lets you edit the cell that's already there. I can call this ha. All right. Well, if I were to do this, I can't, I would type over it. That's another fun thing it does, is if you say something like happy, and then you start typing something, it's like, oh, do you want to type happy again? And you can hit enter, and it will do that. Now, it learns. It's actually a very smart, clever program. How many of you are totally bored? No one is totally bored. Awesome. Wow. Okay. That's what I like to see. Any questions? Oh. So, I have a question for you. What's the first thing to talk about? Yeah, okay. Formatting matters a lot in this, as far as when you're viewing things. If you ever want something to look like something else, like it looks like a decimal, you want it a percent, it's a regular number, you want it to have a $sign. This stuff right here at the top, with the under the number section, it's got this $sign, it's got this percent sign, so forth. That's very useful for formatting things. You want to throw some commas in there. Like, for example, let's imagine we're going to write something that's, say, $50,000. That is awkward to look at, right? I would like to have a comma. I could just double click and put a comma in, but that's really freaking irritating if I have a whole bunch of numbers. All right, I don't want to put a comma in all the time. So what, of course, you can do is you can put them all in once, press and click and drag, and you can highlight anything you want, as long as it's a box. And then you press that commas button, and now we got commas. Boom. As many as you want. Commas coming out the ears. So we have this irritating thing that it will, when you hit that comma button, I don't really know why it does this, but when you hit the comma button, it will automatically give you 2 decimal places that you might not want. Can anyone take a guess as to how to get rid of those decimal places? Yes? Exactly. So, and this one will increase the decimal, going from, 1 0 to multiple zeros. This one will decrease it, going from 2 zeros to 1. So we can just get rid of it, and every time we press it, we get rid of those decimals. We also turn this into dollars by, guess what? Hitting the $sign. Note when I did that, one, it increased my decimals again, because if it's dollars, it's assuming there's some sort of cents that you care about. 2, you note that I made it so large, you can't see these two. These are just numbers. These number signs. Does anyone know what those number signs mean? Anyone? Yeah. Exactly. So I've had students before who see those number signs and they think, oh crap, I lost my data. It's like just numbers there. These number signs, it just means that the data's there, you just can't see it because the column is not wide enough. So don't freak out if you see the number signs. One thing you can do is, if you're curious, you can always mouse over any of that number sign and you can see the value that's there. It'll pop up. But of course, you can also just create it make it wide enough. How do you make a column wider? Does anyone know? Yep, so if you mouse between D and E, or if you want to do it this way, between C and D, but let's do it this way, you'll see that little symbol that comes up. You can drag it out, or you can, when you're over, double click, and it will automatically widen it. Of course, the problem with it double clicking is then it puts percent of all graduates in one line, which looks kind of stupid. So we can just manually bring it back. It's nice to have both options. This, for example, you see I can't see all of computer stats and mathematics. I'll just go to double click that. Now it's wider. And it's got that Y because of this one right here. Any questions so far? I can't tell if you're bored or overwhelmed. I'm assuming bored. This is pretty basic, hopefully. So now this column is empty. I want to fill it up. I want to be able to say, what is the percent of all graduates are accounting majors or architecture or biology? How do you think I do that? We talked briefly about it last class. I kind of showed you two different ways, but I went through it so quickly. I'm just going to do it carefully right now so we're really clear. How do we do that? Oh, yes. Uh-huh.
And then we're going to divide the particular major for
So yeah, so let's start with that idea. For 10,000. Yep. So what you're thinking of, and we can do that, but that would not give us the percent of all graduates. That would give us the percent of all graduates that we have data on. Yeah. No problem. No, I initially did that too when I was thinking about this. But we call, of course, and whenever when in doubt, look at the descriptions. And if it's done well, it will give you details that you might not have thought of. And here it's telling you not all majors are included due to low numbers. So when we add all of everything up, we won't get 10,000. I think you get something like 8320. So the good news is we can very easily do this. We can press, just divide 463 by what? And we can get the percent of all graduates. Right? 10,000. Exactly. Did everyone follow that? So how do you do that? So, okay, so I'm going to put 463 divided by 10,000. And I typed it in. I got, what? No? Yeah?
Select that one, and then equals, and then you select the column.
Yep, exactly. So you hit on two ideas that are really important. One, whenever you want Excel to calculate something, you press the equals button in the cell. Equal is the key to everything in Excel, because equal is saying, I don't want you to just to write what I wrote. What it did there, by the way, when I wrote that, I think it thought I was like trying to figure out, like, it was like simplifying this. I don't really know, like, why 463 over 10,000 simplifies to 2 over 43. But now I wanted to actually calculate something. And then, because I don't want to type in 463 for reasons that will become clear, I could do it this way, but I don't want to do that for reasons that will become clear. The second thing you said is make a cell reference. So whenever you have that cursor up, you can move your mouse around and select a cell. You can also just type in C3 if you want, but you can't just select this. Everyone just selects cells. It's so much faster. And it makes it less likely to make some sort of keystroke error. And now you can see that it's highlighting this, and it's going to take whatever's in C3 and change it to, and divide it by 10,000. Which is something you can, of course, do in your head. Now, when you are in this area right here, where you have the cursor blinking at you and everything, in order to get out of it, because right now anything I click, it will just change it to whatever it is. I don't want that, right? I want to get out of this. And whenever you want to get out of it, what do you hit? Enter. And it will. I don't know now why it's doing that. Oh, I guess it did do it automatically. It didn't simplify. I guess it did technically simplify.
I think you can go up to number and probably let it change.
Oh yeah, look at that. It's saying fraction. Yeah. We can also just hit the percent value. There you go. Right. But 5% really isn't accurate, right? No, I want, what do I do? I want to see more. Yeah, so I want to increase the decimal. I don't want to move it back. I want to increase the decimal.
Should we always try and do it to the nearest hundredth place?
Yeah, I'm doing it to the nearest hundredth place because you know it has to be that. Like, I know that if I go any farther, it'll be 0. How do I know that? Because out of 10,000, because look at this. This is 4.63%. This is 463, right? I don't have half a person majoring in something. So I know that's the most it can be. Generally, 1 or 2 additional decimal places per percent are fine. If you get any more than that, you look kind of funky anyway. Okay, so now I'm going to, and I guess that's why it gave me 2 over 43 or whatever it was, because I guess that's 4.63%. But, I mean, that's not quite really, whatever. Oh, God. Now I got to do that again? So, for those of you who've had CMAP, you know there's a super fast way to do it. I'm going to build up to that way so you can appreciate the super fast way. 1, the letters that are right above the space bar on the left, Z, X, C, V, you use a lot because you use them for hotkeys. Does anyone know what a hotkey is? It's a sexy key. It is, kind of, right? What is a hotkey? Makes everything easier, right? And let me tell you, when you're working with Excel, that's pretty sexy. So you can, if you want to try to copy and paste something, right-click and select copy and then paste it. That's super annoying. It happened. That's super annoying. What you can do instead is you can select something and press Control-C, and that will copy it. And then for pasting, you press, anyone? Control-V. Note what happened. It updated the cell references. This is the cool part. This is like one of the coolest parts about Excel. This said C3. I copied it and I pasted it 1 row down. So we changed the cell reference 1 row down. It went from C3 to C4. If I had copied and pasted this like 3 rows over into like G or something, then this would have changed by 3 rows over. It would have gone from C to D. It would have said, I guess F, if I had pasted in G. Right. So it will see how many rows down or up, how many columns left or right, and it will change the cell references by that number, by that amount, making a perfect mirror image. So you don't have to type that whole thing over again. You can just copy and paste it. And I can do it even faster. I can say copy and then highlight a whole section and paste it, and it updates everything. But there's an even faster way to do it. What's the even faster way to do it? Anyone know? Yep. So there is an autofill option on Excel. And it will read that, hey, you have stuff over here on the left, you have stuff over here on the right. If you mouse over, where is it? Bottom right, like that little box you see right there. I want to zoom in even more. Oh, and it is still the same size, so annoying. You see that becomes a plus sign, and then you double click, and boom. The whole thing fills up. And it fills up all the way until it stops mattering. Because it sees you have stuff over here, you have stuff over here. I guess when these things go away, you don't want it anymore, so it'll stop. There. Any questions? Now, yeah, let's talk about pasting some more. Let's imagine I don't want that. Let's imagine I don't care about majors per 10,000. I really just want this percent of all graduates. If I delete, we'll see. I can select the whole column by clicking it. I can right-click on that C too. I can just click anywhere on that, right there, and you'll get this drop-down menu. If I hit delete, what do you think will happen? I'm going to hit delete. What happened? It lost the reference, right? That $ REF exclamation point is like, what the fuck did you just do? Because you see our reference for this cell has been screwed up to this thing. It doesn't know because I deleted the reference. So I screwed up. I seriously screwed up. What should I do? Control Z, another great hotkey. You can also, oh my God, my battery's running low. I gotta fix that before I do anything else. But you can see this. You can see the same thing right there. You can undo typing, so I'm gonna undo, and I get it back.
Control Z
is super helpful because you're fiddling around with stuff, move things around. It's nice to be able to fix it rather easily. Okay. What do you think will happen if I do control, if I cut and then I paste here? What do you think will happen? Yeah. Exactly. Only a number will, oops, cut and then paste. Right. In other words, the references stay exactly the same. When you are cutting and pasting, Excel assumes that you're just reorganizing things and you want to keep all references the same. So cutting and pasting will not change cell references. You'll just, it'll look exactly the same. Copying and pasting is the thing that updates them. So I want to undo all that, put that back, and let's get all this stuff back here. Are we good? Any questions so far? So we're using, by the way, it's Control X to cut, Control V to paste, Control C to copy, and then you can Control Z to undo. All right, so let's go back to my original problem. I want to get rid of C. I can't just delete it because, like I said, we get this nonsense. So what do I do? Does anyone know? So I just selected the whole column by selecting D. I'm going to press Control C. I'm going to copy. And I'm going to paste it right where it is. You can, if you want, of course, right-click and say Insert Copied Cells. I could do that. That gets all weird because now it's like referencing B3. Note this updated, right? This is the same. This is still C. But because I moved it to the left, it is now going to, its cell reference is going to update by going one to the left. And now I'm taking not 463 divided by 10,000, but accounting divided by 10,000. That's nothing. Right? That's why it gives me this value error. I don't want to do that. That was a mistake. Let's delete that. Note too, by the way, if I insert a cell to the left, this now updates. That's now D. That's pretty cool. But still, I got this problem. I want to get rid of C. Well, you can copy, and if you go to this paste option, you see this right here, this paste values. It will then paste wherever you're trying to make it paste. It will paste the result that you're trying to, not the formula, but the result. And now it is no longer reliant on column C to get its values. No longer do we see C3 divided by 10,000. We just see 4.63%. And we can delete C and not have a problem. Yes, of course. So I selected all of D. I press Control C to copy it. Now, if I wanted to, I could do a, oops, you see a paste special option. And I could paste values. The problem is I'll do that over C, right? Right, to do this, I'll create whatever. Oh, you give me some crap. You know what? Hold on. I'm going to do the same thing. I'll do it a different way. I am going to insert. So if you right-click, you press insert, you'll always get a new column to the left. Or if you insert a row, you'll always get a new row above. I'm going to select all of D, press Control C, place my cursor right there on E1, and I guess I could right-click this, but I typically just hit on the drop-down menu, Paste Values. And then now I have the actual values rather than the equation. I have the actual values. So no, if I delete C, this gets screwed up, but this one's fine. Is that good? Is everyone good on here? And by the way, if you weren't getting 4.63%, again, you hit that percent value, and I'll turn it to a percent. I can't tell if you guys are like totally on board or bored or like puzzled. Are you bored or puzzled? Yeah.
Mine doesn't work.
This doesn't want to be paste?
So right click on E to make a new column to do insert. Insert right there. Now select D and hit Control C. And now select E. And then under the paste thing, do paste values at 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, no problem.
Now you will note, does anyone else have any questions? Are we good? Okay. You will note that this percent of all is really irritating because it's like percent of all what? How do we fix that so we can see that better? Does anyone know? Anyone? Yeah? Well, we could wrap it, but the problem is we don't have space. But we can. In fact, it's already wrapped, right? But we can merge. So I highlighted both the cells together. I'm hitting merge and center, and now it's merge. Merge and center is a really helpful thing, especially for organization. I can unmerge, and you guys see I get this, and I can merge it back. Boom. And you can of course change alignment, like right here. To make it look nice, I can move it over here. I can move the group to the right. I can make it dance. Right. So it's a very helpful thing to know how to do, just for aesthetic purposes. Are we good? Any questions? No. Okay. Oh, so what was I going to do? Well, I guess I could delete both of these. I could highlight both of those and get rid of them. I don't think I want to do that. You know what I want to do? You know what would be fun? I want to know what the most popular major is. How do I figure that out? How would I figure that out? Yeah. Yeah, let's sort some stuff. So if you go to data, you will see there's a sort option. You can, if you want, select the whole thing, or if you just hit sort, it'll select the whole thing for you. But what's nice is if you only want to sort some things, you can just select those, and it will only sort those, which sometimes comes up, but for now we're going to sort the whole thing. This sort option is really helpful because it lets you unlock a lot of options. It lets you find things rather easily. Like if you get a bunch of data on countries, and you're like, which country gets drunk the most? You can then sort by alcohol consumption, immediately find it. Let's try to sort by percent of all graduates. We got 2 of them there. Let's just do it in E. Do we want, you can order it from smallest to largest or largest to smallest. Which one do we want? Are we trying to find the most popular major or the least popular major?
Did you select the whole?
I selected the whole thing when you hit the sort button, it'll automatically select the whole thing. Yeah. But if you're ever curious on how to select the whole thing, you can just press that button, that triangle button in the upper left-hand corner. So do I want smallest to largest or largest to smallest? Largest to smallest. Again, it doesn't really matter. I mean, if I want to find the most popular and I do smallest to largest, I just got to scroll down to the bottom. But it's possible to have so much data you don't want to do that. In which case, it's nice to know that you can select that order. But the problem is you will get an error by doing this. Yeah?
I don't have smallest to largest as the order form, so should I just?
Did you select column E?
Oh, so.
Yeah. So if I switch to say column A, it seizes all these words in column A, and so it's giving me Z to A options and A to Z. But if you select it to column, say E or something with a number in it, then you'll have largest to smallest and smallest to largest. Are we good? Great. But when you hit OK, you get this error message. Why do you suppose you get an error message? What exactly is a merged cell? Cells. What exactly is that? Yeah. Exactly, right? Just like we have right here with the group, what I have right here with national across 3 columns. The problem is, it is treating this, rows 1 and 2, as data. Because we did not tell it this was not data. This is technically our headers. These are our titles of our columns, but we didn't tell it that. We only just said, oh, just treat it as like another group, or major is a major. What the hell? And because these things pass over 2 rows, it doesn't know how to sort them. The simple and easy fix in this case is if you select my data has headers. So go back to the sort, hit my data has headers, and you will see column B will no longer say column B, it will say major. And see, this got de-highlighted. So now we have a situation where normally it only does the first row, but because group and major and so forth cover 2 rows, then it treats this as the first row, this whole thing across this top. And then it gives everything the appropriate title. It gets a little screwy still. There's really no way to fix this. Like if you go into, if you drop a drop-down menu, you see like it treats F as national, bachelor's, but it doesn't really know what to do in G and H. So it calls them G and H, even though it's 25 and 50. So it really is only looking at the very top thing. Percent of all graduates. Largest to smallest. We good? Okay. Boom! And now we see them. All right, and now which are the most popular major? What's the most popular major? Business management. And then general business. And then accounting. 8% do business management. And then we go into nursing, psychology, communications, marketing, general. You can read. Note though, the first 3 are business. So, what percent of all majors are these 3 majors right here? What percent of all majors are these 3? About 18. And we can, of course, find out by just hitting equal. And this is the secret to Excel. If you don't know how to do something, press equal and then start typing vaguely what you want. And it will come up with a list of suggestions. And, with a little bit of typing and checking, you can find what you're looking for. We want to add these things together. No, that's address. We want a sum Ah, there it is, sum. And I'm going to press tab. And then I'm going to have it, I'm going to highlight these three things using my mouse and press enter. 18.16% of all majors are either business management, general business, or accounting. Questions? Yep. I hit equals, I typed in SUM, and then you see the sum is highlighted there. Even if I just type SU, I can use the arrow keys to select sum, and then whatever you highlighted, when you hit tab, it will capitalize it all and open up a parentheses, because that's what every command, every function begins with. It doesn't have to be capitalized in order to work, but it looks nice if it is, because then it stands out. And then I just highlighted the three things I care about. You can then close the parentheses. I never do, because if you just press enter, it'll close them for you. See, it's closed. Any questions? I have a question for you then, something from last class, as we're looking at this data. What is the element of the data? Major. How do you know it's major? How do you know it's not group? Yeah.
Because everything was centered around the
Mm-hmm. Yep, right. There's 47,000. Even this says business because this is accounting, right? This says business because it's general business. This says psychology and social work because it says psychology, right? Exactly. Everything, all of the variables are derived from the element. All the variables are derived from major. Major is our element. Again, I think I mentioned this last time. Do not think that whatever's on the farthest left-hand column is the element. That's sometimes not the case. In this case, it's certainly not. You know, that wouldn't make sense. This says business major because this says business. This says general business because this says business. Logically, that doesn't hold. Right? Why does it say two different things when you start with the same thing? This is what's causing the other things. Right? This is what's causing the other columns. This says business because this says business management. This says business because this says accounting. Okay. So we talked about cutting. We talked about pasting. We showed the formulas. Let me get rid of this. There we go. Of course, I should mention too, if you were to copy and paste this down, you see this updating as well. Oh, let's just leave it. Oops. Oh, you start with me. There we go. Wait, hold on. What did I do? Oh, I know what I did. It's because I'm doing it from here. So I was copying and pasting trying to fix it, and I realized it's because I was copying and pasting from the ones that where I pasted the values. So I was like super confused. What's going on? Paste values. There you go. Okay. Let's see. Any questions on this? Yeah. Marvin. Click on the percent. It doesn't. What do you mean? Like when I click on this? Oh, well, that's because that's right here. So I pasted values here. There's no way to get it back unless you just hit undo a lot. And we can highlight that distinction too by showing you the formulas. You'll note that I got these confused because I forgot this one just said the values in it, while this one actually has the formulas in it. It would be nice if I could show them both side by side, and you can do that by pressing Control tilde. Or if you want, if you go into, I think it's in formulas, you see the show formulas option. It's also control tilde or the button right to the left of 1. Now you can see the values I actually put in. You can see the formula, the commands I put in directly. This is incredibly useful because for you, not for my online course, but for you guys, if you want to try to justify your work on an exam, you can do it all in Excel, press control formulas, control tilde, show formulas, and then print out what you just did. And then I can see exactly what you did. And you can show your work that way. For my online course, you can just copy and paste this into a Blackboard. Yeah. Control tilde, so the tilde is the button right next to the 1. That one, yep. If you press control tilde, it will convert. Note that when it does it, it automatically makes everything wider. Because it assumes that the equations are going to be larger than the actual result. So it automatically widens all your columns. Which can be irritating because if you hit Control P, then you see that this actually takes up a lot of room. This takes up 10 pages. There's a couple of ways to fix this. One is you can press that, go to the no scaling, and you can say, look, just force it all on one page. That gets super tiny. We can change the orientation so it's landscape. That's a little bit bigger. We can also shrink these columns by, just like before, double clicking. You know, we can shrink it even more like this. Shrink this, right? Because it thinks that it shouldn't be, right? That helps a little bit. But a really great thing you can do is if you don't care about this information here, you can just highlight this stuff. I did that by just selecting the E, the actual E, and dragging it over. And when we hit Control P, let's get rid of this no scaling, we can tell it under print active sheets to only print selection. And now for some reason it's not showing it to me. I don't know why. Let's make this a little narrower. There we go. And Control P, print selection, show print, okay, show print figure, there it is. And right, now it's not so crazy. And clearly we can shrink some columns too so that things are moved over even more. There we go, Control P, there we go. Print selection there. Oh, this is just because it's 2 pages long because it's so much. There's so many columns, that's why. This is all the same column here. And then we can, you know, we can fiddle with it some more. So there's lots of ways to get everything to fit so you're not printing out like 10,000 pages of basically blank space. If you fiddle with it, you can get things to fit really nicely. Note as well, after I've done that, you can see these dotted lines here. You see how there's a dotted line between those two? Between those two columns? There's an intersection right here. If I zoom in, it doesn't get any bigger, unfortunately. Right. Those dotted lines indicate page breaks. And you can visually see this more easily if you go into View and you go into Page Break Preview. And so then for when you start rearranging things like this, if I just keep doing this, there we go. Now you see that that has flipped over, and it's now on the same page. And now that's flipped over too. And there we go. Now it's all on one page. Well, at least that part is. It shows you which one's one page. Any questions? No. We don't want to print all this out though. Oh, look, where did my commas go? Oh, I know. It's because whenever you go into show formulas, it will remove any formatting. So this, normally this is percent, but now it's just 0.25 because it's 25%. It also, for some reason it doesn't send them anymore. I don't know why. So we are going to go back so we can see the formulas again. And note, because I shrunk everything's super tiny. Those are my numbers again. So you can always just double click between, and it will just expand it out so everything fits. It shrank them because it automatically makes it wider when we do show formulas. So when we go out of show formulas, it will narrow it back. So therefore, if we narrowed them during show formulas, now it's super narrow, so we have to widen up again. This is super small too. That looks ridiculous. There we go. There we go. That's good enough. Any questions? You guys look bored. Okay, fine. Let's kick it up a notch.
But,
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit, first I'm going to bold this whole first row because I like bolding the first row. And I'm just going to imagine I'm running a burger joint. I think I call it Orson's Burgers in the notes. Quantity, sales tax. And then we're going to do the tax rate. And it is, I'm going to put in 6.5%, and by typing the percent in, it will automatically call that cell a percent value. And we can see that here, right? This is a percent, this is just a general, this is a percent, because I've made it a percent value. I'm gonna make this a little wider. I'm gonna call these hamburgers at $3.99. Cheeseburgers. I make them expensive cheeseburgers, $4.99. That's $1 for cheese. Fries, $2.99. Hot dogs. I'm just pulling this from my notes, so if you want to pull that out too, so you know where I'm going. And soda is $1.19. My quantities are 22, 36, 43, 18, 66. I sell a lot of soda at Orson's Burgers. I'm just a lowly employee. It would be nice, of course, to not have $3.99, $4.99, $2.99, but to have them in dollar forms. How do I do that? Anyone? Yeah? What was that?
what is that in here?
Oh, okay. Oh, someone did. Marvin? Yep, hit that dollar sign. So I highlighted all of these 5 numbers. I'm going to hit that dollar sign. Boom. And by the way, if you want, you can put it in euros. Or you want, or whatever. We're in America. Let's just do that. Now, there's a couple of ways to figure out how much sales tax I owe, and I'm going to show you all those different ways. I want to start by showing you how to figure out how much sales tax you owe for every item. Now, that sales tax value is going to be equal to the price times the quantity times the tax rate for each item. That's the total tax I owe because of hamburgers, the total tax I owe because of cheeseburgers, and so forth. You can do that, of course, by setting equal B2 times C2 times G1. Because we formatted the price as a dollar sign, this should also be a dollar sign, and it is. I'll show you formulas. B2 times C2 times G1. Now, we want to do this for all of them, so let's just double click and drag it down. Oh no! What happened? Yeah? Yeah, exactly, right? This, because we moved it down 1, you know, B3 went, B2 became B3, C2 became C3, and G1 became G2. And that makes sense for B and C, it doesn't make sense for G. Right? There's nothing here, there's nothing in that G2. Now, we could do this a really stupid way, and we just like copy and paste this down. But that's pretty dumb. I don't want to do that. You don't want to do that either. Does anyone know what we can do? How do we make it so that some change and some don't? You don't, you are right, but you don't mean absolute value, you mean absolute cell reference. So absolute value is actually a command, but yeah, you're absolutely right. We want to turn this into absolute cell reference. Absolute cell references mean when you copy and paste, you lock in a row and a column. The easiest way to do this is to put your mouse cursor either next to the G or next to the 1 or between the G and the 1, and then press F4. And it will throw in 2 dollar signs. Those dollar signs simply mean, they don't mean money, they simply mean I have locked in the G, I have locked in the 1. And so now when I copy and paste, it doesn't change. It doesn't update. Oops. You can also, if you want, simply type in the 1, or type in the dollar sign next to the G and next to the 1. And now I can use summation to figure out how much I owe in taxes. Look at, by the way, cheeseburgers are super expensive.
Don't have any questions?
Yeah?
Question. So these nations has to the G and the 1. So yes, well, the first way I can press is the analysis.
You will note that there are 2 dollar signs, one to lock in the G or the column, and one to lock in the 1 or the row. And then you multiply it again by G1. And now you can lock it in by pressing F4. Yep. Now hit enter. And now you can just copy and paste that down. You might want to, if you want, you can turn it into like a dollar sign too. Well, F4 is the command to do absolute cell references.
So F4 automatically puts the dollar signs in.
Again, the dollar signs here don't mean money. They're just a code that Excel uses to lock things in. Any questions? Okay. We're gonna fiddle around with cell references in a little bit. First, I want to show you though the story of what we did. I just added everything up here. Note that is the same thing if I took price, multiplied it by quantity, added all this stuff up. I summed all this. That's my total revenue. Right? We all followed how I get total revenue there. If I sell 22 hamburgers at a price of $3.99 each, then my revenue from hamburgers is $87.78. Or again, my cheeseburgers, which are more expensive and I sell more of, I get $179, et cetera, et cetera. All these 5 different revenue streams, I added them all up here at the bottom. And I got a total revenue. Are we comfortable with that? I don't know if you've ever seen this in accounting or something, but and note that what we can do is if I take my total revenue and multiply it by my tax rate, what do I get? Exactly the same thing. Let's just a way to check to see if we did it right. Which part? So I got the components parts here from each source of money I make, and then I just added them all up. So, and you can unpack the math here, and you can see mathematically these things are equivalent. Right, you can think of that G1 as just being factored out, these things being added together, these products being added together, and then multiplied by the quantity. It's mathematically exactly the same thing. Now, for all of these functions that Excel is doing, we have one input so far, right? We want to know the sum, for example. We highlight an area, we say, add up everything in all of these cells, and it does so. But sometimes there's more than one input. Sometimes we want to tell it more than one thing. And I can show you by showing you a shortcut for this, because this was kind of irritating. If I want to know the total revenue, I had to create a new column to add up all these variables, and then I had to multiply all these pairs together, and then I had to then add them all up. That's kind of annoying. But Excel is smart. It knows sometimes you want to do that. In fact, you want to do that a lot. You want to add a bunch of stuff together, multiply a bunch of stuff together, and then add up all those products. And it has a specific command for that called sum product. I'm going to put it right here. So again, you don't know what to do. I want to add a bunch of stuff together. No, I want the sum. Sum product is right there. Whenever you find something you don't know what it is and you want to learn more about it, this button in the upper left-hand corner, the FX button, insert function, is incredibly helpful. If you click it, it will give you a proper kind of arrangement like this, and it will tell you returns the sum of the products of corresponding ranges or arrays. It tells you a little bit about this. It also tells you all about the inputs. All of our inputs, though, are exactly the same. It's just two arrays. Oops, sum product. I am going to highlight this because I wanted to consider that array or that range. However, I wanted to consider two different arrays, two different ranges. How do you highlight two different ranges? You separate them with a comma. When there's more than one thing that you're putting in to a function, you always separate the different things with different references with a comma. And now I highlight this. And so what this will do, what this function will do, is it will take this, the first item in the first array, multiply it by the first item in the second array, and hold on to that number. And then multiply the second item in the first array times the second item in the second array. The third by the third, and the fourth by the fourth, and the fourth, and hold on to these 5 products in this case. And then, at the end, add them all together. I mean, I think mathematically, technically the computer is probably like, you know, multiplying something, setting it aside, multiplying another thing, then sticking them together. You know, it's probably doing it that way, because then it only has to hold on to one number. But that's what it's doing, which is literally what we did right here. And indeed, when we press enter, we get exactly the same result. So this is a much faster way that doesn't require you to make a whole new column right here. Does anyone have any questions? Yes, Miranda. So if I type in sump and then I start working with that, it won't know what that is. I want to hit the tab button so that it can select some product and get the whole thing. And note it automatically adds in that open parentheses to start me off. Any questions? I should say, any other questions? Okay. One last thing. How many of you are feeling pretty good? All right, great. Then you can solve a puzzle. Let's do a 2 and 3 here, and 100 and 200 here. And what I want, actually, I'll give you 4, 5. Oops. 4, 5, and 200, and 300 and 400. Now, let's imagine I want all of these cells to be the product. Well, actually, no, we can make it simpler. The sum of the stuff on the left, the column on the left, plus whatever's on the right. So, for example, this is 102. This cell right here, C5, should be 303. Maybe this cell, I think, should be 304, etc. How do I set up this so that I can just copy and paste it everywhere and get the result I want? While you're thinking about this, let me show you some of the problems you might encounter. We'll say, okay, I'll just copy and paste everything. There. The problem with this is now I'm referencing 102. I want to reference just 2. If I go down. Right. Similarly, if I go to the right, now I'm referencing not 100, but 102. So that can't work. If I lock things in, F4, here we go, and F4, now I have the opposite problem, nothing changes. Because it's always locking it. So what do I do? Does anyone know? I want it to change, but I sometimes don't want it to change. I only want it to change in certain ways. I want this to go across, but I never want B to go down, or the blue one to go down. I want red to go down, but I never want red to go across. What do I do? Remember what I said. The dollar signs are there to lock what they're next to. There are 2 dollar signs because there are 2 things they have to lock. Yeah, Amanda. I like what you're saying, so I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying. So say it again. Okay, well, let's try that. I lock in A1, I don't lock in A, and then I do this, and that seems to be right, but then when I copy and paste it over, that's not what I want. Right, I want this to say 104, but now it's like looking at 104 here. So, not quite. Anyone? Exactly, yeah. You're doing the way I think you're doing it. So you can, as was noted, just do this. And that way, when we copy and paste this down, then the 2 will change, which is what we want, but the A will not. The A will stay right here. And over here, the 1 will stay constant because it will lock it in on row 1, but the columns will change because we did not lock the columns. So that gets me to where I want to be. Someone else did something in a different way, which I now want to make sure I understand exactly how you did it, because I want to make sure what this person did, what you did. You highlighted this whole thing, and then you added in the B2, and then it sounded like you just sort of kind of had it everywhere, right? Is that how you populated this? Okay, well, I populated it that way. What? Oh, you just dragged it down? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that one and that one. And the only thing that changed is the B, but this is, yeah, the B is going to change. I'm not exactly sure how you set this up. I see what you did, but not exactly sure how you set this up because now I have to like drag these all over. And then now that we've set that up, then naturally it's easy to do this. One thing you could do is you can kind of do a hybrid and you can just lock it in right here with the 7. And now when I drag it down, that won't change and this will. It's the same idea. Okay. Does anyone have any questions about this? Hopefully you're now a little bit more comfortable with Excel. You can see though that as we're working through this, there's a lot of ways to do the same thing because Excel is really flexible. It tries to give you a lot of options to do stuff because your circumstances will change. It's a very sophisticated program. It's a really great thing to be comfortable with. I encourage you to play with it a lot. Find things online to play with too. There's a bunch of tutorials, hundreds and hundreds of tutorials about all kinds of different things. And I will see you then next class. Have a great couple of weeks. Have a great weekend, everyone. Have a great weekend. Yeah.